Welcome and thank you for being here right in the moment when the whole world is slowly sinking into silence. Perhaps today your mind has wandered through too many sounds, too many thoughts, and even those feelings you haven't found the words to express. Your eyes may be tired, yet somewhere deep inside, there is still a place quietly working without pause. That is your subconscious, the silent realm that guides 95% of everything you feel, choose, and dream about. Tonight, we will slow down, truly slow down, to listen to that hidden depth, a place where old memories are being rearranged, where emotions loosen themselves gently, and where sleep is invited to return in its softest form. If you've ever wondered why the heart sometimes knows before the mind does, or why dreams can feel so real, so close, then stay with me in this journey. We will step into the soft world of the subconscious, slow, deep, and very gentle. Breathe in and breathe out quietly. The journey begins. 1. A lullaby into sleep. A gentle prelude inviting us to explore the unconscious. A lullaby is not merely a soft sound that lulls someone into rest. It is also a doorway into the inner world where the mind quiets down and the most delicate movements of emotion begin to reveal themselves. When the narrator speaks in a warm, slow, and steady voice, it is not simply guiding the listener. It is opening a journey of returning to oneself, returning to the part of the mind we often abandon during the frantic pace of daylight. In content designed to guide one into sleep, the introduction is often the most crucial key. It determines whether the listener can release their thoughts, relax their breathing, and more importantly, whether they can trust enough to step into a new space. Thus, the opening serves 3 roles: establishing safety, creating a slower rhythm, and drawing the listener into presence. A gentle, low voice flows like a quiet stream, unhurried, unforced, simply existing alongside you, like a kind companion who knows when to speak and when to remain silent. When that voice appears, it sends a soft signal to the nervous system. You are safe, you can breathe, you can release now. The mind, so accustomed to vigilance, gradually puts down its invisible shield. In psychology, this state is known as parasympathetic activation. When the parasympathetic nervous system awakens, the heartbeat slows, the breath deepens, and the body shifts into its natural mode of restoration. A truly effective lullaby, therefore, is not only an art of language, it is a science of rhythm, rhythmic pacing, slow, even, steady, not too fast, not too shifting, helping the brain transition from alert waking states and beta waves into alpha and theta, the brainwave frequencies of relaxation, daydreaming, and the threshold between waking and sleep. A gentle introduction also holds another power. It evokes imagination. It does not tell the listener what to think. It does not impose. Instead, it invites, a very quiet invitation. Look into your inner world. Is there something there that is waiting to be heard? And this is where the lullaby touches the unconscious. The subconscious is where nearly all of our mental processes reside. Even though we cannot see them, it stores memories, emotions, reactions, habits, even the things we no longer remember experiencing. When a soothing voice creates safety, the subconscious begins to shift like the surface of a still lake, calming, allowing us to finally see what lies beneath. If the waking mind speaks throughout the day, then at night it is the subconscious that listens, and the introduction, if written well, becomes the soft knock at that hidden door. Imagine a narrator saying, "Welcome back to yourself, no matter how long today has been. No matter how many things remain unfinished, you may set them down now. You don't need to try anymore. Just breathe. Just be here." Such words are not meant to deliver information. They anchor feelings. They guide the listener from a fast rhythm to a slow one, from tension to release, from vigilance to safety. Because of this, the lullaby's opening is the threshold of magic. In the art of healing storytelling, there is a principle known as holding space. The narrator does not fix the listener, does not instruct, does not explain too much. Instead, they hold a space that is soft enough, spacious enough, warm enough for the listener's mind to open what it needs to open at its own pace. This is healing not by effort, but by allowing. A lullaby that invites the subconscious always leads us towards slowing down, for the subconscious never appears when we rush. Like a stray cat, it only steps out when it knows it is not being chased. The narration, therefore, must be steady, with long breaths, and never afraid of silence. In a lullaby, silence is also speech. This silence is not emptiness, it is the soil where emotion blooms, as the lullaby guides the listener downward and inward. It begins to touch the earliest layers of feeling: exhaustion, longing, the quiet wish to be understood, and the deep desire for rest that one has not allowed themselves. And in that moment, the listener softens. There, sleep is no longer something one tries to do. It becomes something that simply happens. Sleep is not about forcing the eyes closed. It is about releasing the grip and allowing the body to return to its natural rhythm. A truly successful lullaby always fades out gently. No firm ending, no closure, just allowing the listener to drift away, like a door left slightly open, like a candle burning down softly, like breath dissolving into the dark. And the subconscious, from here, continues the rest, quietly, tenderly, faithfully, to establishing the inner world. When the conscious mind is only the surface and the subconscious guides the rest, once we have stepped through the soft doorway of the opening lullaby, the mind begins to settle like a quiet lake at dusk. And it is in this calm that we can gently look deeper into how the mind truly operates into the unseen world that shapes everything within us, yet so rarely receives our attention. We often believe that we live, decide, and feel through the conscious mind. We assume every choice is intentional, every reaction deliberate, but the truth is different, subtler, deeper, more serene. Psychologists and neuroscientists have shown that up to 95% of human mental activity happens in the subconscious. This means that most of what we do, what we prefer, what we avoid, has already been quietly determined long before we become aware of it. The conscious mind is only the visible tip of an iceberg, clear, bright, easy to notice, but small. The subconscious is the vast mass beneath, silent, expansive, powerful enough to shape the direction of the entire ship. The psychoanalyst Carl Jung once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate." A gentle sentence, yet it echoes deeply. The subconscious does not need to announce itself, it simply guides. The subconscious decides before the conscious mind arrives. Modern neuroscience has shown that when we are about to make a decision, the neural signals for that decision appear 7 seconds before we believe we have chosen. Put simply, the subconscious chooses first, and the conscious mind arrives later to explain. The conscious mind acts like a narrator, the storyteller, always trying to justify, to make sense, to present a reason that sounds reasonable, but the real seed of the choice was planted earlier, in memories, experiences, beliefs, fears, wounds, desires, all held in the quiet archive of the subconscious. If you have ever reacted emotionally too quickly to someone's words, a glance, or a situation, so quickly that you couldn't even think, that is not impulsiveness. That is the subconscious at work. The conscious mind arrives afterward, slow and uncertain, whispering, "I did that because..." But that explanation is only a soft covering, something created to soothe ourselves. The conscious mind steers the surface. The subconscious holds the rudder. Imagine the mind as a ship at sea. The conscious mind stands on the deck looking outward, observing the waves and sky. The subconscious holds the wheel below, silent, steady, adjusting direction without words. The conscious mind may say, "I know who I am," but the subconscious whispers, "I know why you became who you are." And from this difference arises something profoundly gentle. We do not need to fully understand ourselves in order to exist. The subconscious has always been there, protecting us, reminding us, balancing us. The soft relief of knowing we don't need to control everything. When one realizes that the conscious mind is not the entire self, something loosens. A lightness spreads like setting down a backpack after a long journey. We no longer need to think so hard, to tense so long, to worry so wide, because the mind and body already have a night watchman at work, regulating the heartbeat, maintaining breath when we forget to notice, alerting us to danger, soothing us when we feel sadness without knowing why. The subconscious does not ask to be controlled. It only asks for permission to function, and that permission comes only when we slow down. A natural progression from chapter 1 to chapter 2. In the first chapter, we learned how to return and release. Here, we learn the structure of the mind so we understand that we have never been alone. The subconscious is not something foreign. It is simply a deeper version of ourselves, watching, storing, guiding. And the beautiful truth is, when we trust the subconscious, sleep is no longer something we try to achieve. It becomes something that simply happens naturally, quietly, effortlessly. Now, if you notice your body softening, your breath slowing, your thoughts fading into a gentle mist, that is the subconscious opening its door, stepping forward softly to cradle each remaining emotion you carry. Let it do so, gently, without effort. 3. The survival mechanism. When the subconscious is the quiet gatekeeper. Once we have seen the vastness of the subconscious and recognized that the conscious mind is only the small visible portion on the surface, we begin to understand something deeper. The subconscious not only observes, it protects us, not loudly, not demanding recognition, not waiting for gratitude. It works quietly, like a sentry who never sleeps. From the time we were children, even before we could speak, before we could think in words, the subconscious was already there. It remembers the very first fear, the first comfort, the warm embrace, the anxious gaze. It uses all of these impressions to construct the survival blueprint of our life. And the strange thing is this: we can forget, but the subconscious does not. The subconscious controls the body without any effort from us. Consider something very simple. We do not remind the heart to beat. We do not consciously adjust our breathing while we sleep. We do not think about digesting food. We do not decide our body temperature on a cold night. All of it is managed perfectly by the subconscious. The parasympathetic nervous system allows the body to relax and recover. The sympathetic nervous system prepares us to fight or flee when faced with danger. And the subconscious coordinates the balance between the two. When we are tense and our heartbeat rises and our breath shortens, that is not a flaw. That is the subconscious saying, something here feels unsafe. When we are held in an embrace long enough and the breath deepens, that is not coincidence. That is the subconscious whispering, you can let go now. The subconscious always prioritizes safety over correctness. It prefers to react too much rather than too little, which is why a faint sound at night can make us startle. A cold glance can make us withdraw. A gentle touch can make us break open. All of these are languages of survival. The subconscious reacts faster than thought. When your hand touches something hot, you pull back before you realize it is hot. That is the subconscious acting faster than the conscious mind. When you see a shadow in the dark and your heart jumps before you recognize that it is just a coat, that is also the subconscious. It is always ahead, always guarding, always trying to keep you safe. The subconscious does not require you to think, it only requires you to feel and hear. There is a gentle truth. No emotion is meaningless. Every emotion is a signal rising from below the surface. Sadness, anger, worry, happiness, unease, tender longing, all carry a story the subconscious cannot tell in words, only in sensation. If we run from our emotions, we are running from ourselves. But if we listen, we are opening the door to healing. The subconscious protects not only the body, but the heart. There are things we do not want to remember, and so we forget. But the subconscious does not. It keeps them, not to harm us, but to make sure we do not repeat old wounds. Sometimes we are cautious around someone who has done nothing wrong. Perhaps their eyes resemble someone from our past. A memory flickers on in the dark, and the subconscious whispers, be careful. It is not fear, it is protection. The subconscious is never the enemy. It is simply a bit clumsy in how it shows its love. The survival mechanism, and sleep the changing of the guard. When we are awake, the conscious mind works. When we sleep, consciousness rests. But the subconscious continues its watch. It reviews memories, reorganizes the fragments of the mind, heals the small invisible wounds, regulates hormones and the rhythm of the heart, cleanses toxins from the brain, a process called lymphatic cleansing. When we sleep, the subconscious does not sleep. It whispers, rest now, I'll keep watch for you. And perhaps that is one of the most tender gifts the mind has ever given us, for sleep and dreams. When the subconscious becomes the night storyteller, when night falls, when light slowly withdraws from the eyes, when the body begins to feel heavy as if melting into the fabric of the bed, a quiet shift takes place. The conscious mind, the storyteller of the day, sets down its book of words, and the subconscious, silent all day, steps onto the stage. No noise, no announcement, just a soft changing of the guard in a quiet room. Sleep is not merely a state of rest. It is the ritual of the mind's rebirth. As we drift, the breath deepens and steadies. The heartbeat slows. Muscles release their tension, and the unnamed heaviness of the day begins to unravel, strand by strand. This is not laziness. This is a recovery mechanism written into us since the time humans lived in the depths of the forest. The conscious mind sinks down, the subconscious rises, and here dreams begin. Dreams are the language of the subconscious. Many wonder, why do we dream? Why are some dreams gentle and clear as morning mist, while others are quiet and dark like deep water? Freud called dreams the royal road to the unconscious. Carl Jung described them as messages from the soul, spoken in a language not yet known. Dreams do not come to entertain. Dreams come to balance. When we suppress emotions during the day, dreams unfasten them. When we cannot say something aloud, dreams whisper it for us. When a wound has not yet healed, dreams touch it softly, slowly, carefully. Dreams do not force. Dreams suggest softly, so softly. Memory integration. The subconscious reorganizes the mind. While we sleep, the brain does not rest. It works more slowly, more deeply, and with greater order. The memories of the day, glances, sentences, emotions, the warmth of a touch are placed into their own compartments. Important memories are stored deeper. The trivial dissolve and drift away. This is called memory consolidation. During the night, emotional wounds are soothed, pain is set down to breathe, and the mind creates space for tomorrow. If the daytime is when we live, then nighttime is when we are put back together so that we may continue living. Nightmares, not an enemy, but a signal. Many fear nightmares, but nightmares do not come to harm us. Nightmares arrive when the subconscious says, there is something you have carried for too long. A nightmare is a door opening into a memory not yet healed. It is the mind's way of showing that a part of us is still stuck in a moment long ago. If we learn to listen, nightmares stop being frightening. They become maps pointing to the places still in need of light. The in-between state, the most beautiful moment of sleep. There is a fragile moment between wakefulness and sleep. It is called hypnagogia. It is the moment when thoughts have not fully dissolved, but dreams have already begun to bloom. Images flicker like smoke. Sounds soften into breath. The world seems to fade and form again at the same time. This is the state artists, poets, and inventors have sought for centuries. For here, the subconscious offers ideas the conscious mind cannot create. Those few seconds are like standing at the border between two worlds, the world of logic and the world of pure sensation. Slow, silent, deep enough to soften everything. Lucid dream. When we become aware within the dream, there are moments when we realize we are dreaming, and we can touch that dream gently, like touching the surface of water without breaking the reflection of the sky. This state is called lucid dreaming. In that place, the conscious mind does not disappear. It simply blends into the subconscious, not controlling, only witnessing. And this is one of the rare moments in which the two parts of the mind become one. No struggle, no boundaries, just coexistence. like a choir without a conductor, yet somehow perfectly in harmony. Sleep is the softest gift the subconscious gives to us. Sleep is not an ending. Sleep is a returning. As we slowly sink into it, the subconscious whispers, "You've done enough today. This is enough. Let me take care of the rest." And the body responds by softening, by releasing, by coming home. No one teaches the heart how to beat. No one teaches the body how to breathe. And no one needs to teach us how to sleep. Sleep is the most natural language of the soul. Tonight, as every night, the subconscious will continue to care for us, quietly, patiently, tender as breath after the rain. 5. Habits and implicit learning. When repetition becomes instinct. When sleep closes the chapter of dreams and the gentle messages of the subconscious, we enter another quiet world, the world of habits, a world that requires no thinking, no analysis, no effort, a world where the subconscious, with its quiet patience, turns the small things we do repeatedly each day into a part of who we are. We often believe that we live through willpower, that every action is a conscious choice, weighed and intentional, but the truth is softer, deeper, and far more tender. We do not live by willpower, we live by rhythm, by repetition, by the invisible pathways inside the brain. And those pathways are carved bit by bit by the subconscious. Repetition, automation, identity. Think back to when you first learned to tie your shoes. In the beginning, it was difficult. Your fingers clumsy, the laces stubborn, the bow loose and slipping. But after hundreds of days of repetition, you no longer learned to tie shoes. You simply tied them. No thinking, no analyzing. The body just knew. This is muscle memory, a form of implicit learning handled by the subconscious. The beautiful part is, once an action becomes automatic, it no longer consumes conscious energy. It becomes the background rhythm of who we are, which is why the way you walk, the way you smile, the way you respond when someone calls your name, even the way you hold your breath when you're tense, are all subconscious habits, not decisions. And these tiny things shape the person you appear to be. A habit is not just an action, it is a path carved in the mind. The brain has a mechanism called neuroplasticity, the ability to reorganize itself. Every time we repeat an action, whether it's drinking water with the right hand, checking our phone when we're bored, or smiling when we see someone familiar, a signal travels along a neural pathway. If that signal travels often enough, it becomes a groove, a trail. The more repetition, the deeper the trail. The deeper the trail, the more natural the behavior feels. Eventually, we can no longer tell the difference between what is our true personality and what is simply something we repeated long enough to become effortless. There is something very gentle and very profound in that, because it means we can become anyone we choose. If we are gentle and patient with what we repeat, breaking a habit equals creating a new path. A common misconception is that changing habits requires trying harder, but the subconscious does not respond to pressure. It responds to rhythm. To change a habit, we do not erase the old groove. No one can erase a path already carved. We simply create a new one beside it, and we choose to walk the new path more often. Like splitting a river with a small stream. First it is narrow, then wider, then deep, until the old river flows quietly on its own. No battle, no self-blame, only kindness. When the mind wanders, the subconscious is creating. There are moments when we do nothing at all, watching the rain outside the window, letting the gaze drift into empty space, wandering in quiet imagination. This is daydreaming. People think this is distraction, but in truth, this is when the subconscious is assembling things, combining fragments of memory into new ideas. Many great inventions were born this way. The subconscious creates in silence. No force, no effort, just flow. And when sleep arrives, especially in hypnagogia, those ideas are refined even further. Those who learn to listen to the subconscious do not chase inspiration. They receive it gently, without calling, without holding. Lucid dreaming and the subconscious as a quiet companion. Earlier, we touched upon lucid dreaming, the moment when consciousness awakens inside the dream. What is fascinating is this: those who practice lucid dreaming can train skills in the subconscious and then perform them better when awake. The subconscious does not only store memory, it practices with us, silently, steadily, faithfully, like a companion holding our hand from behind, unseen, but always present. The gentle relief of not having to change overnight. Humans often pressure themselves to improve quickly, to grow immediately, to perfect themselves right now. But the subconscious does not move on the timeline of logic. It moves on the timeline of rhythm, slow, soft, repeated, and then deep. Change does not begin with determination. Change begins with one small action, gentle enough to repeat every day, like water dripping on stone, not forceful, but deep. Now, if you feel your body a little lighter, your breath a little longer, your thoughts softening like silk, that is the subconscious opening wider. We are moving in the right direction, step by step, layer by layer, breath by breath. 6 senses and filters. When the subconscious processes millions of signals we never notice. Once we understand that habits and repetition shape our daily behavior, we begin to recognize something even subtler. The subconscious does not only organize memory and action, it also shapes the way we perceive the world. Every second, our body receives millions of signals from the environment. Slight shifts in light and color, the temperature of air touching the skin, a faint scent passing by. As if someone walked nearer, the distant hum of a car on a quiet night road, the tiny rhythm of our own breath, yet the conscious mind registers only a very small portion, around 40-60 signals per second. Everything else is processed quietly by the subconscious. The subconscious is the gatekeeper, the filter, the one who decides what is allowed to reach the screen of awareness. The subconscious filter, the doorway between us and the world. The brain uses a mechanism called the reticular activating system, RAS. RAS is the gatekeeper between subconscious and conscious attention. It determines what is important enough to notice and what should fade into the background. If something is connected to emotion or survival or has been repeated many times, RAS opens the door and lets it into awareness. A simple example: in a room full of voices, you still instantly notice when someone says your name. This is called the cocktail party effect. Your conscious mind does not hear your name first. Your subconscious does. It recognizes the sound, the tone, the familiarity, and then signals your awareness. Pay attention. That is why, even in noise, a single soft voice can cut through scent and memory. When the past returns in a single breath, smell has a direct pathway to the emotional and memory centers of the brain, the amygdala and hippocampus, without first passing through logical processing, which is why a familiar perfume can stir the heart. The smell of wood smoke can return us to childhood. The scent of rain on earth can leave us speechless. It is not the smell itself that matters. It is the story the subconscious has attached to it. Memory is not stored as clear images. Memory is stored as sensation, and sensation is the language of the subconscious. Subtle signals the body always reads. The body notices details we never consciously analyze. A blink that comes a bit too fast, a tense swallow, a tiny twitch at the corner of the mouth, a slight curling inward of the shoulders bows. We do not think to understand these things. We feel them, and that is the subconscious at work. This is why sometimes, just from a single glance, we know someone is hurting or pretending to be fine. The conscious mind cannot explain it. The subconscious simply whispers, something is off, or this person feels safe. In the realm of intuition, the subconscious sees faster than reason. Subliminal signals, messages below awareness. Some images, sounds, movements are too subtle or too fast for the conscious mind to detect, but the subconscious records them fully. This is called subliminal perception. Advertising, film, art, and therapeutic practices all make use of this layer. We do not see with just the eyes. We see with the experiences stored in the subconscious. Even silence has a language. In human communication, the most important part is not the words, but what happens between the words, the pause, the gaze, the slight shift of the body. The subconscious understands long before we figure it out logically. We do not need to analyze someone to know they are sad. We feel the air become heavier. The air holds memory. The room holds presence. Space itself speaks, and the subconscious listens. When we open, the world opens with us. When the mind slows, when the breath softens, when we allow space to settle, the subconscious filter becomes gentler. We begin to see more without being overwhelmed. We begin to hear deeply without drowning. We begin to be present without effort. The subtle beauty of the subconscious is that it never forces, it only invites. Soft as candlelight flickering on a wooden table, slow as evening unfolding thread by thread, natural as breath expanding and returning, a gentle transition to the next chapter. If chapter 5 taught us that habits are formed through repetition, then chapter 6 reveals that our perception of the world is also a subconscious habit. We do not merely live in the world, we filter the world through our sense of feeling. And the most wondrous truth is this: when the way we perceive changes, the entire inner world transforms. A small shift in attention can open the door to an entirely new sky within the mind. Slowly, softly, patiently, for the subconscious is not a destination, it is a companion, walking with us for a lifetime. 7. When emotions appear in the body, the subconscious speaks a wordless language. As we begin to understand that the subconscious processes the world faster and deeper than the conscious mind, we touch a quiet and profound truth. The subconscious does not live only in the mind. It lives in the body. The body is the first language of the subconscious. Before we knew the word sadness, our eyes already knew how to fill with tears. Before we knew how to say, "I am afraid," our fingertips already trembled. Before we learned how to say, "I love you," our hands already moved to hold someone close. The body knows. The body remembers. The body retells stories that the conscious mind sometimes tries to forget. Emotion does not live in words, it lives in subtle movements. We can say, "I'm fine," but the body says. The shoulders curl inward, the breath grows shallow, the chest tightens, just a little side, and the subconscious whispers, "No, you're not truly fine." We can say, "It's nothing," but the hand squeezes slightly. The voice softens at the end of the sentence. The eyes look away for just a moment, and the other person's subconscious understands instantly. No analysis, no explanation, just feeling. Emotion flows through the body first, and only later reaches the mind, which is why we sometimes say, "I don't know why, I just feel sad," or "My chest suddenly felt tight." Emotion arrives before words, micro expressions, feelings that flutter like butterfly wings on the human face. A true emotion appears for only 1/25 of a second. So fast, so delicate, like a butterfly touching the surface of water and then dissolving. These are micro expressions. The conscious mind doesn't see them, but the subconscious does. We don't know the reason. We just know this person is not telling the truth. This person is hurting. This person needs to be held. Intuition is not magic. Intuition is the subconscious reading the body before the mind can explain. Eyes, posture, breath, the map of emotion. Eyes, they do not just look, they carry feeling. Heavy eyes speak of a heavy heart. Bright eyes speak of hope blooming inside. Posture, those who feel safe open their body. Those who are wounded fold inward. Those who are bracing hold their shoulders up without noticing. Breath, when afraid we breathe shallow. When peaceful the breath moves deep. When in pain the breath breaks softly. The body whispers what the mind does not say. The body cannot lie. Words can hide. The body cannot. The body responds directly to the subconscious. It does not try to be appropriate. It simply reacts. If someone makes you feel unsafe, the body tightens, even if your lips are still smiling. If someone makes you feel safe, the body softens, even before a word is spoken. Tension or softness is the truest truth. This is why in therapy, one does not listen only to the story. One watches how the body breathes, contracts, releases. The body is the journal of the subconscious. Facial feedback. When the body influences the mind, emotion affects the body, but the body also affects emotion. This is called the facial feedback hypothesis. If we allow ourselves to smile slowly, the body sends a signal to the brain. We are safe. If we release the shoulders and breathe deeply, the brain reduces stress hormones, cortisol. Warmth returns to the hands. The heartbeat softens. We do not need to reassure ourselves with words. We only need to sit with the body, because the body always arrives before language. The body is like a musical instrument that must be tuned gently. If the mind is the singer, the body is the instrument. When the strings are loose, the sound is dull. When the strings are too tight, the sound is sharp. When the strings are balanced, the sound is clear. We don't need to change the song. We simply tune the instrument gently, slowly, without rushing. You only need to place a hand on your chest, breathe in deeply, and breathe out just a little slower than you breathed in, and say, not with words but with presence, I am here. The body will understand, the subconscious will hear. A natural transition to the next chapter. If chapter 6 showed that the subconscious listens to the world, chapter 7 reveals that the subconscious speaks through the body. The body is the window into the subconscious. The breath is the bridge between the two minds. When we want to listen to the subconscious, we do not need to analyze. We simply return to feeling. Are the shoulders tight or soft? Is the breath deep or shallow? Are the hands clenched or open? These are the most honest answers to the things we have not yet found words for. And now, as the mind settles like a still lake after the wind, we will gently enter chapter 8, connection and resonance, when the subconscious moves with others. 8. Social connection and resonance. When the subconscious moves in harmony with others, once we recognize that the body is the instrument of emotion and the subconscious is the quiet musician, we begin to see something even deeper. Our body and subconscious do not respond only to ourselves, they respond to other people. We do not live alone. We are woven into one another through gaze, breath, silence, and presence. Even without speaking, without touching, without trying to connect, the subconscious is always seeking resonance with the subconscious of others, quietly, naturally, like water blending into water, mirror neurons when we feel what someone else feels. The brain has a system called mirror neurons. This is what allows us to feel another person's emotions as if they were our own. When we see someone smile, we want to smile. When we see someone cry, the chest tightens. When someone is anxious, our breath shortens without us realizing. We are not imitating. We are empathizing unconsciously. Simply being near someone who is calm makes us calmer. Entering a tense room makes our heart beat faster. We think these emotions are ours, but often we are feeling on behalf of someone else, like two strings of a violin placed close together. When one vibrates, the other begins to vibrate too. Synchrony. When bodies move in the same rhythm. When two people truly connect, their bodies naturally synchronize. Their breathing slows into a shared rhythm. Their posture becomes similar. Their voices shift into the same tone. Silences become gentle, shared, comfortable. This is called synchrony. No effort is required. No control, only presence. When we instantly feel comfortable with someone, it is not coincidence. The subconscious is saying, their rhythm matches yours. And when we feel uneasy near someone who has done nothing wrong, it is not irrational discomfort. It is the subconscious saying, your rhythms are out of tune. The body knows, long before the mind does. Emotional contagion. When feelings spread without words, emotions spread, not through speech, but through the energy each body carries. Laughter spreads quickly. Sadness spreads quietly. Anxiety spreads like a thin smoke no one can see. We cannot stop this. The subconscious is wired for collective survival. Long ago, if one person sensed danger, the whole group had to run. If one person found food, the group had to share. Emotional contagion is not weakness, it is our ancestral intelligence. We are safer when we feel together. Trust does not come from words but from breath and gaze. We do not trust someone because they say kind things. We trust them when their voice softens at the end of a sentence. Their eyes do not turn away. Their body relaxes in our presence. Their breath is slow and warm. The subconscious does not listen to words. It listens to rhythm. Someone may say, "I love you," but if their shoulders are tense and their gaze avoids ours, the subconscious quietly says, "No, that love is not settled yet." But if someone simply places a gentle hand on our shoulder, breathing slowly, warmly, we know we are loved, even without a single word. The subconscious understands the language before language. When we harmonize with others, we come home to ourselves. There is a truth that feels like a paradox, but it is deeply real. We think connection means reaching outward, but in truth, when we connect deeply with someone, we are actually connecting deeply with ourselves. When we look into another's eyes and they truly look back, we see the softest part of ourselves reflected there. When we embrace someone with our whole heart, we are also holding the part of us that longs to be healed. The subconscious does not distinguish between self and other. It only knows harmony, ease, disharmony, tension. This is why when we meet the right person, the right presence, the right frequency, the entire body softens, as though we have returned home. Not a home outside, but a home inside. 9. Deep memory and wounds. When time does not heal, but the subconscious does, once we understand that the subconscious not only shapes the body but also resonates with others, we begin to touch a place that is thin, delicate, and profoundly real. The realm of deep memory. This is where time is no longer linear, where the past does not remain behind us, where what we think we have forgotten is still alive inside us in another form. Memory does not disappear, it settles, and the things that settle the deepest are often the things we were not yet able to face. Memory is not stored in images, it is stored in sensations. We often think memory is a film, clear images, stories we can retell, but the subconscious does not store memory that way. It stores the feeling in the chest at that moment, the rhythm of the breath, fast or slow way, the weight in the shoulders, the slight tremble in the fingers, the feeling of being left behind, the feeling of being loved, the feeling of not being chosen, the feeling of not being enough. The deepest memories do not live in the mind, they live in the body. This is why sometimes we suddenly tighten, suddenly ache, suddenly cry without knowing why. We do not remember the story, but the subconscious remembers the feeling, and feelings have no age. Wounds are not what happened, they are what we felt. What hurts us is not the event itself, but the feeling of that event touching us. Two people may live through the same situation, yet one moves on, while the other carries it for a lifetime. Why? Because in that moment we were too small. There was no one to hold us. We did not understand what was happening. We had no language to describe it. We simply curled inward in order to keep going. So the subconscious, trying to protect us, closed the door, not to hide, but to help us survive. Suppression and repression. When memory sinks beneath awareness, there are two ways memory gets locked away: suppression we push it away intentionally. Repression. The subconscious tucks it away on its own. Many people say, "I don't remember being hurt," not because the memory is gone, but because the subconscious said, "Leave it there, not yet, you're not ready." And that is not weakness. That is the kindness of the subconscious. False memory, when the mind fills the gaps to protect us. The mind cannot tolerate a gap. When a memory is incomplete, the subconscious fills in the missing pieces to create a story that makes sense. This is called false memory, not because we lie, but because the mind is always trying to keep us from chaos. Even if the story we remember is not exactly what happened, it is still emotionally true, and emotional truth is often deeper than factual truth. Healing is not digging up the past, it is returning safety to the present. When people say time heals, it is not quite true. Time only pushes things further down. Healing happens when the subconscious is allowed to open in safety. Therapies such as EMDR, eye movement, desensitization, and reprocessing. Somatic therapy, healing through the body. Hypnotherapy, therapeutic trance, do not require us to retell everything. They do not force us to confront pain. They do not push us to be strong. They do only one thing. They allow the body to feel an old emotion in a new, safer environment. And when the body learns that the danger is no longer here, the old memory loosens, gently, quietly, like a clenched fist opening after many years. Healing is a very small verb. Healing is not a dramatic awakening. It is a very soft movement. One breath longer than usual. One pause before blaming yourself. One night of sleep that is a little more peaceful than yesterday. One moment of sadness that you simply allow to exist. Healing is not forgetting the past. Healing is when the past no longer controls the present. 10. Belief body. When the mind touches every cell, as we journey through the realm of deep memory, where old stories settle quietly into the body, we begin to recognize a gentle yet powerful truth. The mind does not live only in the head, it lives in the body. Every belief, every thought, every emotion is translated into biological signals. We do not only think with the brain, we think with our breath, our heartbeat, our immune system, and even our skin. The body and the mind are not two separate beings. They are two expressions of the same current. The placebo effect when belief heals the body. In medicine, there is a well-known phenomenon called the placebo effect. When someone takes a fake pill with no active ingredients but believes it will help them heal, the body truly begins to heal. Blood pressure stabilizes, pain decreases, the heartbeat softens, hormone patterns shift in response to belief. The body listens to what we believe, not only to what we know, and this reveals something beautiful. Belief is a kind of medicine, not imaginary medicine, but biological medicine, real medicine. The nocebo effect when fear hurts the body. The opposite of placebo is nocebo. When we believe something bad will happen, when we worry too long, when we fear what has not yet arrived, the body responds as if the danger is already here. Muscles tightened, shoulders lift and brace. Breath becomes short. Cortisol rises. The heartbeat speeds. The body does not distinguish between real fear and imagined fear. It listens to the whisper of the subconscious. If the subconscious believes we are unsafe, the body prepares to fight or flee. This is not weakness. It is ancient survival wisdom, but when fear lasts too long, the body becomes exhausted, and healing at that point is not about fixing the body, but changing the rhythm of the mind. Stress is not psychological, it is biological. People often say, "Don't worry, just calm down." But worry and tension are not located in thoughts. They are located in the nervous system. When the subconscious senses danger, the body sends blood to the muscles to prepare for escape, pauses digestion to save energy, lowers the immune system to focus on survival, interrupts sleep to stay alert. This is protection, not failure. You are not weak. You have been surviving. And to return to balance, the body needs only one thing: safety, not words that say it's okay, but a deep breath, a gentle touch, an embrace held long enough, a calm voice, slow and warm. The body responds to state, not reasoning. Music, rhythm, and brainwaves. Music changes the body's rhythms, not because of its beauty, but because of its pace. When we hear soft rain, the breath slows. When we hear ocean waves, the heart spreads open like a lake after the wind. When we hear a warm, low voice, the brain shifts from beta alert, stressed, to alpha and theta, rest, dream, openness. This is why we sleep more easily with gentle sound. We calm down when spoken to softly. We cry more easily when listening to slow piano. The body synchronizes with the world, and the subconscious is the conductor. The body finds safety through breath. Notice, when anxious you breathe shallow. When peaceful you breathe deep. Breath not only reflects the state, it creates the state. Just breathe in slowly, hold for a moment, exhale longer than you breathed in. The parasympathetic nervous system activates. The body shifts into restoration, not through thought, not through force, through breath. Breath is the bridge between conscious and subconscious, between mind and body, between stress and calm. Belief does not live in the mind, it lives through the whole body. When we believe we are safe, the body opens. When we believe we are threatened, body contracts. Belief has a shape. Belief has a breath. Belief has a weight in the chest and a texture on the skin. We do not need to force belief. We simply teach the body to feel safety again, slowly, gently, one breath at a time. 11. Intuition and bias. When the subconscious decides before reason. As we begin to see how the subconscious stores memory in the body and how belief lives inside every breath, we arrive at a quieter, more mysterious, yet profoundly powerful realm: intuition. Intuition is not prediction. It is not randomness. It is not something mystical or impossible to explain. Intuition is the fastest language of the subconscious. If the rational mind needs time to analyze, compare, evaluate, and predict, intuition arrives in an instant. Drawn from the vast library of everything the subconscious has collected over a lifetime. It is a library without labels, but full of impressions, sensations, reactions, experiences, and thousands of subtle adjustments we do not remember consciously. Intuition is the subconscious saying, "We have seen this before," even if the conscious mind does not remember when. The silent library of the subconscious. Everything we have ever seen, heard, touched, loved, feared, longed for, or lost is stored in the subconscious. not as words, but as patterns. When something new happens, the subconscious scans this enormous collection at a speed far faster than the conscious mind, matching, comparing, and guiding. We do not think, we simply know. The feeling is very soft, a small pull in the chest, a quiet signal of move forward or step back, a sense that someone is safe or not. No noise, no drama, no explanation needed. Intuition always speaks in a low voice. And when life is too loud, too fast, too tense, too painful, we simply cannot hear it. Thin slicing, the snap judgment of the subconscious. Psychologist Malcolm Gladwell called this phenomenon thin slicing. It is the ability to see one moment, hear one short sentence, observe one tiny movement, feel one silent rhythm, and know exactly what is happening. We do this every day. Someone walks into a room, we know if they are heavy-hearted or light. Someone says, "Yeah, it's fine." We know whether it truly is. We catch just one glance and know to trust or to be careful. The rational mind cannot move this fast. Only the subconscious has that speed. Intuition is not magic. It is the science of memory and sensation. But intuition is not always correct, because the subconscious also stores wounds, and what once hurt us can distort how we see the present. This is implicit bias. If someone who once hurt us had a deep voice, the subconscious may make us wary of anyone with that tone, even if they are kind. If we were abandoned when we opened our heart, the subconscious may block new emotional connections to protect us from being hurt again. This does not mean we are cold or numb or unwilling to love. It means the subconscious is saying, "I don't want you to be hurt again." Sometimes the same force that protects us is also the force that keeps us closed. How to tell intuition from a wound? Intuition is soft. It has no fear. It simply says, "This way." A wound-based reaction feels tight. The chest contracts, the belly clenches, the breath shortens. Intuition expands. Wounding contracts. If it arrives fast and painful, it is memory. If it arrives quiet and steady, it is intuition. The subconscious always knows the difference. The conscious mind only needs to sit still long enough to listen. The subconscious is a guide, not a master. Intuition does not force. It does not command. It offers a direction. The choice to follow or not belongs to the conscious mind. The subconscious speaks in sensations. The conscious mind speaks in logic. They are not enemies. They are partners, like ocean and sky, not the same, but reflecting one another. Intuition is the voice of the self we are becoming. Intuition sees farther than reason, not because it knows the future, but because it sees what we already know deep inside, but have not yet dared to admit. Intuition is stepping toward what we yearn for before we are ready to say it aloud. Intuition is the voice of the self we are growing into. Soft, kind, true, transition, a slow breath. If chapter 10 showed how belief flows into the body, then chapter 11 reveals how the subconscious leads through intuition. And in this journey towards sleep, intuition guides us into a new experience, time, and how the subconscious bends time through emotion. If you are ready, we will gently step into the next chapter, 12. Time and attention. when the subconscious keeps the clock and softens the rhythm of life. As we begin to recognize intuition as the whisper of the subconscious, we start to notice another gentle but mysterious truth. Time is not fixed. Time does not flow evenly. It stretches and folds according to emotion, presence, and the quiet work happening beneath our awareness. There are moments when 1 minute feels like an hour, and moments when an entire afternoon slips by in a single breath. This is not because the clock is inaccurate. It is because the mind does not measure time in seconds. It measures time in rhythms, the rhythm of breath, the rhythm of emotion, the rhythm of attention, the rhythm of presence, and it is the subconscious that adjusts this rhythm. The subconscious is the timekeeper within. There is something peculiar that almost everyone has experienced. We sometimes wake up just seconds before the alarm rings, as if there were an invisible clock running somewhere deep inside the mind. This clock is known as the circadian rhythm, our biological clock. It influences when we feel sleepy, when we feel awake, when hormones rise and fall, when the body seeks rest or movement, all without thought. The subconscious is the guardian of this biological time. It tracks sunrise and sunset. It remembers our sleep-wake patterns. It knows when the body needs to rest, even if the conscious mind tries to push through. When we listen to the subconscious, we fall asleep like drifting into water. When we fight it, we feel exhausted without knowing why. Time feels long or short depending on emotion. When we are anxious, the mind races. Thoughts pile on top of thoughts. Scenarios multiply, and there feels like no escape. A single minute stretches endlessly. When we are calm, the mind slows. Breath softens. The body lightens. Space opens. An hour can disappear like the blink of an eye. So, it is not time that changes. It is the state of the mind, and the subconscious is what adjusts the pace. Real time is felt, not counted. Feeling is the language of the subconscious. Attention the spotlight that shapes reality. We do not experience everything around us. We experience only what we pay attention to. Attention is like a narrow beam of light shining on a stage of endless possibilities. What enters that light becomes our world. What remains outside it disappears from awareness. And here is the key. The subconscious decides where the light falls. If the subconscious feels safe, attention opens, the world appears wide and gentle. If the subconscious feels threatened, attention narrows, only danger is seen. In those moments, it is not the world that changes, but the frame we are looking through. When the mind is too loud, time folds inward. Perhaps you have had days where you were busy but remember nothing. Hours disappeared into scrolling and distraction. A day passed, and you never really felt yourself in it. This is when attention is pulled outward. The subconscious is not heard. We live from reflex, not presence. When the mind is noisy, time does not flow. It vanishes. It is not that we lived less. It is that we did not experience ourselves living. When we are present, time opens like silk. There are small, simple moments. Taking a slow sip of tea, watching light fall across the floor, listening to wind move through leaves, feeling your hand resting on your chest as you breathe. In those moments, we are not in the past. We are not in the future. We are here. And when we are here, time stops flowing and becomes space we can breathe in. This is presence, And presence is the language of the subconscious when it is trusted. The subconscious does not live in clocks, it lives in rhythm. Clock time is linear, subconscious time is elastic. When we are in love, time feels short. When we are grieving, time stretches. When we are afraid, time tightens. When we are peaceful, time softens. Time is not something we chase. It is something we feel. And when the body is relaxed, when the breath moves slowly, when we stop forcing, rushing, running, time becomes a gentle companion, not pushing, not pulling, only walking beside us. Softly, so softly, transition to the closing chapter. If chapter 11 showed us how the subconscious guides through intuition, and chapter 12 showed us how the subconscious shapes time through emotion, then chapter 13 will be the most tender closing, the lullaby where we let the subconscious keep watch over our sleep. 13. The closing lullaby. Let the subconscious keep watch while you sleep. Now, as the journey comes to its gentle end, as each layer of the mind has been touched softly, as the body has grown loose and quiet like silk resting in the night, there is nothing left to analyze, nothing left to understand, nothing left to hold on to, only release. Because what needed to be remembered, the subconscious has already kept. What needed to be healed, the subconscious has already begun to mend. What needed to be set down, the body has already learned how to place gently on the ground, not through effort, but through return, slow, soft, natural, like the surface of a lake at evening. Once the wind finally calms, your body now knows the way home. Feel your shoulders. They may have been holding the world all day. Let them fall just a little, just a little. Nothing forced, nothing pushed. A drop of dew does not fall because it is heavy. It falls because it has reached the moment meant for falling. Your body is the same. It does not need convincing to rest. It only needs permission. And you are giving that permission now. The breath becomes the path into peace. Take a slow, gentle inhale, as though you are inviting a soft breeze to pass through your heart. And exhale even more softly, as though you were setting down a heavy bag. You have carried too far for too long. There is no right or wrong here, no correct way to breathe, only breath finding its own rhythm again. Your subconscious knows that rhythm. Let it lead, the subconscious, the quiet watchkeeper of the night. As you sink into sleep, the conscious mind will slowly dim. It will lower its lights, close its doors, step away from the stage. But the subconscious remains. It will ease the heartbeat into rest, deepen the breath to nourish the lungs, repair small wounds within the cells, rearrange the memories of today, place emotional pieces back where they belong, quietly, patiently, faithfully. You do not need to guard yourself. The subconscious has already taken that role. This is why humans can sleep without fear. Somewhere inside, a part of us is still awake, keeping watch. The night guard has never once left its post. You do not need to try to sleep, only to let go. Sleep does not come when we call it. Sleep comes when we stop calling. You don't need to squeeze your eyes closed. You don't need to think, I must sleep. You don't need to quiet the mind by force. You simply need to allow. Allow the body to grow heavier. Allow thoughts to grow soft and hazy. Allow feelings to drift like clouds passing across the moon. like a boat resting on still water. No rowing, no steering, no resisting the current, only drifting. Tonight, you do not have to be strong. There is nothing to prove, nothing to solve, nothing to answer, nothing to fix. Tonight, you are simply someone who is tired and allowed to rest. It is not always necessary to be brave. It is not always necessary to stand tall. It is not always necessary to know the way forward. Sometimes, the most beautiful thing we can do is to surrender into the arms of the night and trust the subconscious to handle what remains. Now, there is only the breath. Inhale slowly, as if you are inviting peace into your chest. Exhale fully, as if you are placing the whole day down upon the earth. Everything else can wait until tomorrow. Every thought can rest in the hands of the night breeze. Every worry can drift to another shore. There is nothing left to carry. You are entering the soft place of the night, where everything loosens, where everything clears, where the subconscious sings the oldest lullaby known to humankind. And as you drift, let these words dissolve inside you, not to be remembered, but to be felt. You are safe. You are enough. You are held. You are supported. You are not alone. The night is holding you. The subconscious is watching over you. The body is resting to begin again. Sleep now. Sleep will come like gentle water. No sound, no hurry, no calling needed. It simply arrives, naturally, tenderly, deeply human. Inhale, exhale, and sleep. May your night be soft and your morning light.